don't see them. Are there microphones available in the back? They're there, okay. Back railing, if anyone is asked to speak, please use the microphone, and everybody on the committee, please use your microphone. And I think that's it. Bathrooms, either in the office or on the third floor. We have the Office of Environment first up today, so we'll have you come on up. Thank you.
Good morning. First, thanks for the chairs and the table. I usually can't be seen over the podium. So, good morning, happy Friday. For those of you who don't recognize me, my name's Elizabeth Baum-Martin, and when I'm not escorting legislators out to the Tully Mud Boils, I'm the director of the Office of Environment. So, thank you to everyone who showed an interest in the Tully Mud Boils earlier this year. I'm here to start you out with an overview of the Office of the Environment's 2026 budget. So as we're moving towards the end of 2025 and we're taking a look at what we did, you know, it's very clear that our priority and our focus has been on addressing water quality. And it looks like it's going to continue to be our biggest priority moving forward. The problem of harmful algal blooms, which we expected to be an issue with all of the summer heat this year, continued to be a problem. So the Office of Environment continues to work on projects, planning, implementation, working with some of our lake associations to address the causes of harmful algal blooms, which is largely sedimentation and nutrient loading. So we're on Skaneateles Lake, we're on Otisco Lake, we're now working on Janesville Reservoir, we're working on Nida Lake with our partners at Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board to look at ways to reduce sedimentation, erosion, and revegetate those eroded tributaries, swales, and ditches that are feeding those nutrients and sediment into our water bodies. So that is our first line of defense against these harmful algal blooms, and hopefully we'll be seeing something coming out of a project we just started on Janesville Reservoir in 2026. This year also saw the return of herbicide spraying of water chestnuts on the Seneca River. So this new approach uses drones to aerial spray. I went out to see them do it. It's a much better process than when herbicide spraying was done because you have less overshoot. You're definitely targeting the plants themselves, and then a follow-up showed that I would say probably 98%. There was a spot that they missed that we caught, took the plants right out. And I mean, this is a game changer for the water chestnuts. So I am very appreciative of Soil Water Conservation District and their boards for adding this new approach to their tool belt, because along with the mechanical harvesting, we're really getting at both the plants, which drop, once again, the nutrients that cause the harmful algal blooms, but also the seeds. And if we can keep the seeds from forming, then we're preventing the plants further down the road. So I think this is going to do a lot towards keeping our surface water clear and just keeping that Seneca River looking the way we expect it to for our recreation, our boating, and for those who visit and live on the river. We are still working with regional partners. It's still early in there with the state, with the DEC, with the Canal Corporation, to think about how to prevent water chestnuts upriver. And I think that's going to be really the key thing that prevents them from coming into our county. We're doing absolutely what we should be doing, and I appreciate all of your support for that. We are also in year 2 of complying with New York State's new general permit for the MS4 in the Syracuse urban area. That includes updating our county stormwater plan, so you'll be seeing some public engagement, reaching out on that coming up. And then we have a grant from New York State to map all the interconnections to get a better understanding of not just our stormwater system in the MS4, but the grant actually is for the CNY Stormwater Coalition. So once again, we're working with our partners at Central New York Regional Planning Development Board to help the county understand where our interconnections are for those stormwater, but also all of the municipalities, the towns and villages that are in the MS4, because just because the stormwater falls on our land, it then goes into someone else's system, goes into someone else's system, and ends up someplace like Onondaga Lake. So it's an all interconnected system, so it's great that we're working together. And then finally, our other big project is our climate action plan. So right now, we're finishing up the greenhouse gas inventory, and good job, Onondaga County. It looks like we are meeting or exceeding our greenhouse gas reduction goals, and we're also meeting and exceeding the state's goals, so good job. So you'll hear more about that also going forward in 2026 as we start to pull together that climate action plan to make sure we're still on track for achieving the 25% reduction in 25 years. For 2026, the budget for the Office of Environment before you holds steady pretty much everything with only standard salary and wage increases, with one exception. There is a request for $9,540 for interns or the use of student analysis from some of the programs up on the Hill, Syracuse University, SUNY ESF. One of the projects in 2026 is I would like to take a hard look at being more innovative about solid waste and the solid waste policy for Onondaga County, and it would be helpful to have the interns to do some of the analysis, but also maybe some of the other things that we do in the office, so we can keep working on the projects we're working while we also work on solid waste issues. There is no request to increase funding for deer and tick program, no increase for water chestnut programming. You guys are doing, thank you very much for everything you've done to support. We continue to assist the 5 municipalities that are participating in the deer and tick program. And the ash tree program is in the capital improvement plan. So otherwise, in 2026, we will keep doing what we've been doing, which is to protect and improve the quality of Onondaga County's natural environment on Onondaga County's property, but also working with our partners, the towns, the villages, to make sure that we are looking at the entire environment across the county.
Thank you. Elizabeth, is there any money left over from this year for the deer and tick fund? The deer and tick management plan?
I don't know the exact amount, but I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Brian?
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning.
There's a big difference between, in professional services, between adopted and modified in 25, and I see that we've come back down to the adopted level from last year and added 75,000. Can you explain the professional services?
I can jump in here. So that is actually the deer and tick and water chestnuts that's in their transfer to grant line that is also in this year. So once the budget gets adopted, we then transfer that into the project account, so it increases that. So
We
it's
pay
that too.
out of the project account.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
And then, as far as the solid waste management plan, how does the office environment fit into what Oprah does, and how is this initiative, is this a coordinated effort, or is this something we're taking on to do better? What's the story?
Absolutely coordinated effort. I sit on, and historically, from my understanding, the director of the Office of Environment sits on the Okra board. Initially, the solid waste management plan was done by O'Brien and Gear out of the Office of Environment. The second 10-year plan, because these are 10-year plans, was handled by Okra because it was largely the same plan. It was just a repeat. And they also handled the extensions between each 10-year plan, because every 2 years they have to not just report on what's going on, but what things that they're going to change, these smaller projects. So what I have pitched and what I would like to do in working with Okra is start thinking on a broader scale. New York State is definitely taking an approach of diversion, which is getting all of the waste out of the waste stream. And there's a lot to happen there because obviously the tipping fees feeds into the waste to energy facility. But there are some things that we can do that are not dealing with solid waste, that are more maybe economic development, that not necessarily are in Okra's wheelhouse, but are still and should be part of Onondaga County solid waste policy if we're thinking about diversion. Because the way the system is set up, it's almost a conflict because their funds are recycling. So it absolutely is necessary that Okra be every part of this. But thinking about it from a waste to energy facility, from a landfill disposal system, is kind of old thinking. And we're really being pushed, and there's money to think about diverting organics from the system, for taking some of these electronic waste and getting them back into and refined into, so they can feed these new companies that are coming in, become part of the supply chain. And so some of that stuff is a little bit innovative and also not necessarily what Okra does. So there's still not a scope. We're working with Okra on what the scope of the local solid waste management plan will look like. So more to come on that. But the request for the interns is really just trying to dig through all of this information that will help Okra and Onondaga County figure out what's best for the county as far as the future of solid waste. Is that?
Diversion from other cities?
Well, I don't think, it's not being talked about because I don't think anyone wants to include waste coming in. It's more of what to do with our waste. So there's a 2019 characterization study, and it's dealing with that waste that we know and what we can project to come in from our economic development growth. But we haven't had those conversations because I don't think anybody wants to bring in waste from outside. Unless you know someone I don't. No. That's part of what I'm diving into is looking at our flow control laws, and that's why it's good to look at it comprehensively, so we know everything the county needs to do to have the solid waste management system that we want.
Thank you.
Interesting question. More to come. Julie?
Okay,
yeah.
thanks. So I totally
You're
get
next.
why you would ask for the intern, because you and I work in great capacity together. And I just want to tell you, one of the things, if you don't know, that is really, I think, is an awesome thing you've brought, is
Yeah.
bringing in students and younger parts of our community on our, to do with the climate action plan, our committee, and et cetera. So I commend you for that. I think we've got to bring you really make an effort to hit all the demographics, and I personally appreciate that. So I wanted to talk to you a little more about harmful algal blooms, specifically to do with Jamesville, because it's been, we've had so many closings at the beach this year. And so somebody mentioned an aerator, potentially. That's not this budget, is it?
No, I don't know if you've listened to Parks yet, but I believe.
It was Brian.
Yeah.
Is that their so that is their budget, and then
But
it's not part of this half.
No, but so what the Office of Environment has, and once again, thank you to the Legislature for supplying the funds, we've been able to kick off last week with a consultant, Anchor QEA, who is going to kind of take another look at Janesville Reservoir, see where we're at, and then come up with conceptual designs so that we can pursue funding for what I suspect will probably be revegetation of the tributaries, but other options. So I don't know what those options will necessarily be, but I know that one of the ones that's being discussed is aerators by parks to deal with the initial beach area.
Okay.
What we're trying to focus on is making sure that those types of things are not necessary because we're trying to deal with the nutrients and sediment coming into the lake.
So now I understand your role versus parks and where that fits in these budget
But
lines.
we work together.
Yeah, of
So-
course, that's great, thank you.
Dan?
Thank you. So I think that transitions well into my question because I was looking at how you got interdepartment revenues. Is it from projects like at the Jamesville for parks? Sorry, I'll back up. How do you get interdepartment revenues?
Christie, I'll answer that.
So a lot of our departments bill out for the services, so exactly when they're working on different projects with the different departments, they'll bill out their time for those.
Yep, so is something like that Jamesville project then going to
There
parks?
would be some
Okay.
interdepartmentals to parks and to other departments based on that. Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
I just,
No, and we also provide technical assistance to departments. So like Parks is a good example in that, I help with the permitting on smaller projects and then kind of work with the consultants on permitting with some of the bigger projects like the marina. So we provide that additional value-added services.
okay, so it's a lot of little project-based things that you kind of just get involved in?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Dave?
Yep, just real quick, just going back to the Seneca River and that, and working on that area. Just wanted to, give you a shout out for working with Soil and Water, especially on the herbicide applications. There's a lot of hesitation just because of the, like to spray chemicals in water. But you do a really nice job of presenting the studies and what other communities have experienced, and we decided to go ahead and try it, and looks like it's been a huge success. So, as a compliment to all the other efforts we're doing out there, but definitely sounds like it worked out very well.
No, I appreciate that. No, that was, because it was sensitive, we did the homework. Mark Berger and his team did a lot of homework to make sure. And then we kind of stayed in connection with the people living on the river, so they felt comfortable. So, we really didn't get, I think Mark maybe got 3 pushbacks, and he didn't kick any of them to me. So people were very grateful to see that something was being done, and it was noticeable. But what's even better is that, is we're getting into that seed bank so that we're not looking at this being a continuous process 15, 20 years from now. So, but, sometimes it's going the extra effort is worth it, and that was definitely one of those places where it was.
Any other questions? Dave?
Just real quick,
Dan?
do you expect the climate action plan to be completed in 2026?
We should. I mean, ideally, I would have had a plan done now, but, things kind of weave and flow, and I don't get what I want. But yeah, we are meeting actually on Monday with the consultants to kind of go through the greenhouse gas inventory. Once we have those numbers finalized and ready for the public, then we'll start our public engagement process. And then that's really what's going to drive the show, is how many people show up, how many people contribute through as we draft that. So reaching out to department heads, anything that the legislature would like to see included. One of the sad things, I was at the cities last night, their climate action plan engagement meeting, and there was 5 people. So hopefully we can definitely bring in some interest and develop some good ideas.
Good. Charles?
You know what? We do a lot, but it's all over the place, right? So it does feel like it's a lot. I think right now where staffing is good. That's why I'm thinking about the intern, because we actually did have an intern this summer, and he was unpaid. Technically, I took him out to lunch a couple of times. That was his payment. But it really kind of drove home how you really can get a lot of great work out of some of these college students when you invest the time into them to mentor them and give them the experience and the exposure. And so it was nice to watch him grow through the summer. So that's kind of to Legislator Abbott's point. I do like the idea of bringing in other people to this field and giving them the leg up, because after I retire, someone has to carry on the work. So I think, to answer your question, yeah, I think we're good right now. I will let you know when we're not.
Good. Any other questions? No. Thank you, Elizabeth. Next is water environment protection. Hello. Yeah, get him another mic. Okay, welcome. Go ahead, yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
oh, push, got it. Okay. Not sure if you guys saw me limping in here, but I have a little basketball injury, so Dave, now's your chance to take me on one-on-one. Yeah. All right. Chairman, legislators, thank you for the opportunity to present our 2026 executive budget. My name is Odin Dyer. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Water Environment Protection. Joining me today are three of my deputies, Dave Snyder, Martha Hennigan, and Eric Schuler, who have been instrumental in helping me get up to speed in this role. WEP is a department that operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, thanks to the dedication of our frontline staff. They keep our treatment plants and pump stations running under every circumstance. Central to this work is our commitment to worker safety, ensuring that the men and women who keep our systems functioning have the training, resources, and protection they deserve. This budget reflects our continued effort to balance fiscal responsibility with the operational and capital investments needed to maintain compliance, protect public health, and prepare for future growth in Onondaga County. As I'm learning and reviewing the functions at WEP, it is a priority to balance immediate demands of system maintenance with the strategic planning necessary for long-term capacity and resiliency. Recruitment is underway to fill critical vacancies with an emphasis on promoting existing staff. We also initiated a comprehensive review of policies and procedures. Standardized operating procedure manuals are being developed across divisions to ensure consistency, accountability, and safety. Infrastructure milestones include progress on the White Pine Pump Station, which remains on schedule for completion in the third quarter of 2026, and the advancement of feasibility studies at Brewerton and Meadowbrook Limestone facilities to define future capacity. To define future capacity. Design efforts also continue on odor control projects at Metro and Meadowbrook Limestone, while the Metro Clarifier Rehabilitation Project is on track for completion in late 2027. As part of our 2025 budget review this past year, unforeseen delays in bringing the sludge dryer online created unanticipated costs within the all other account. Working with the legislature, we addressed these overruns by transferring funds from salary and benefit savings realized through vacancies. I want to note that all other operating accounts remain sufficiently funded to support the department's core functions. The 2026 budget includes a reduction of 25 funded positions, 2 in the administration of drainage districts and 23 in the consolidated sewer district. This adjustment better aligns personnel costs with actual appropriations in the regular employee salary line. We are also addressing rising utility costs with an anticipated 15% increase in National Grid rates, driving a $1.8 million increase in maintenance, utilities, and rent. Additionally, while work continues to bring the sludge dryer fully online, sufficient funding has been reserved in the all other accounts to cover sludge hauling. Our first priority remains workforce safety. We are expanding training opportunities engaging industry professionals, and updating operating procedures to ensure our employees are supported and protected. We continue to focus on recruitment and retention, with special attention to bolstering infrastructure support staff and strengthening our technical service capacity. The department is advancing a countywide capacity plan alongside a comprehensive master plan. These tools will enable WEP to strategically prioritize capital improvements and provide timely, data-driven responses to requests for capacity assurance. Finally, we remain committed to quality assurance in sewer unit assessments and industrial surcharge billing to ensure rate structures accurately reflect the true cost of services delivered. Key infrastructure projects in 2026 include major upgrades at the Meadowbrook Limestone Wastewater Treatment Plant to expand capacity, reduce overflows, and also address odor issues. Sewer separation projects in the city of Syracuse connected to the I-81 project, which will reduce combined sewer overflows. Asset renewal projects at the Baldwinsville, Seneca Knolls, and Metro wastewater treatment plants entering construction in 2026 to replace critical infrastructure at the end of its service life. Continued investment in deficient pipelines and deteriorated pump stations, with major pump station projects planned in the city of Syracuse and the town of Manlius. The 2026 executive budget reflects a balance between fiscal discipline and the pressing need to renew and expand critical infrastructure. It supports our workforce, advances planning efforts, and ensures the continued protection of public health and the environment. Onondaga County is growing, and WEP must be prepared not only to meet today's needs, but also to anticipate tomorrow's demands. We no longer have the luxury of choosing one or the other. We must meet the moment by doing both. That is the mission we are committing to, and that is the work we are advancing through this budget. On behalf of WEP, I thank the Legislature for your partnership and support, and I look forward to working together to achieve these goals.
Thank you. Questions? Ryan? Dan, you can.
So the number in all other for the sludge hauling is what we anticipated for the whole year. Correct. And I just want to understand the personnel piece. Sorry. The personnel component in your write-up mentions the roster shows a net. This is fine.
No, it's not. No, no. Oh, honest.
The roster shows, wow. The roster shows a net increase of 1. So we kept all the positions, we just unfunded them. What's the
That's-
shape of things to come for those folks?
That's correct. We did just unfund positions. So the unfunding, in the last couple of years, there has been a large salary saving in WEP's budget. So we work together so that when you guys see the unfunded or the funded vacant positions, a lot of times they may show that they have 40 positions that are funded but not filled, but there's really not enough money in the budget in 25 or in 26 to cover those salaries. So what we did is we identified those positions and unfunded those that better aligns with the salary line so that you can truly see the number of true vacant positions that could be filled within their budget. Does that make sense?
So how many true vacant positions can be funded in this budget?
So right now, based on the current staffing, I think it's around the number 20 or 22. Let me get back to you on the exact number based on the last payroll, but it's in the low 20s.
Yep.
And they have had some success in the last couple months in bringing those positions on. I know Odine has worked very hard to make sure that they had the right VRRs in the queue and getting those filled.
Add to that I think Odine and his team has been very good about, and Colleen, thank you, because I think you're the first one who urged us to really take a hard look and go through and really also talk about where staffing was truly needed and build back into the foundational end of the staff. What are really the critical everyday positions, and making sure that the foundation was solid there and then we move up. So I think they've done some great work of going back through, in addition to what Christy said of really culling through.
Brian, you have more questions? Okay, Dan?
Just to follow up on that so that I can understand that better. So the money, they were funded, but the dollars weren't there? Okay, so how does that make them funded then?
So funded positions on the roster, they use salary savings. So we talked a little bit about 26. We are going back to some salary savings countywide through just, attrition and turnover. So based on that, they had a salary saving number in there. But in looking at that, and as we've taken on more of their finances here in financial operations, I think it was a little disingenuous, the large salary savings in terms of just that is how many positions could they truly fill when they're reporting out to us, to you guys. And stuff like that. So we tried to right-size that in the 2026 budget so that better aligned.
Okay, and then the increase of the 474,000 in the 101 is,
So that's just your normally salary and wage increases based on CSEA rates and any other
yeah.
union that's within
So that unfunding cleanup situation doesn't impact that at all?
So it's for the positions that are still funded, that growth with that. So that's what I'm saying before.
Yeah. So that's the natural increase, but there's no like, hey, we changed this and that, so that's why.
Correct.
Okay. And then my other question is, with the sewer separations that are going to happen with the 81 project and all of the other ones that we're doing, do you have a way to quantify that and realize savings from it, or do you just realize savings in the overall and then accept the savings that come along with that? If
Well,
that makes sense.
Savings will be realized in the fact that WEP isn't actually going out and doing the capital improvements themselves. It is in tandem with I-81. We have input in the design of all the work that's going on, and it will also, it's taken out of effect older infrastructure and putting in new infrastructure, so maintenance will be less as well.
Okay, so thank you for that. I'll be a little bit more clear though. In the with the combined sewer system, we then end up cleaning is the word I'm going to use right now because I can't think of the appropriate word. Stormwater, right? So then that stormwater is going to be out, and then we're going to be cleaning less water, I guess, because I can't think of the language right now. Do you know what I mean by that in terms of the capacity of the water that's coming in? That's going to be reduced, right? Is there savings there that's measurable, or is it just kind of a negligible because of the size of what we do?
Yeah, at this point, it would be considered negligible.
Okay.
It will help.
Yeah.
And the broader goal is to have everything separated, and that will be the real deciding factor at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, we're really targeted.
Yeah, thank you.
This may be a question for Christy, but provision for capital is 0. Why, and what was that typically used for?
Sure. So actually, I think that's a really good story to talk about. So historically, obviously, that goes into their capital improvement to offset some of the bonding. So one of the things we've been doing countywide, as you guys have seen, is really taking a look at our old authorizations. So for like in DOT, instead of going out for additional authorization, we repurposed money we've already bonded for. Well, similarly in WEP, we've been reviewing all the projects that have had cash in them over the years, and as we're able to close projects and there's cash in those projects, we can reappropriate them to newer projects. So that's just what we're doing. We found projects that are now complete, that there are still cash balances in there. So instead of coming over and asking for additional cash, we're using cash that's already been appropriated by this legislature. So we don't have to ask for additional cash in next year's budget.
Okay. And then my other question is, do you plan on finishing the year on budget and not going into any of the fund balance?
Christy?
So they certainly will be using the fund balance, or at least a portion of what's been budgeted. At this point, we do not expect them to have to dip into additional fund balance
Okay,
than what was budgeted in this budget, which was just over $11 million.
okay, that makes sense, yep.
Yep.
Questions? Julie? Huh? Oh, okay. Brian?
So, the elephant in the room is the rate increase. we haven't talked about it.
So-
The rate increase. So, and Christie, I know you broke it down a little bit for us in your presentation. Can you perhaps give us a slightly more detailed explanation of what's driving that increase in the just kind of like a top line, not in the not right now, but to supply us
sure,
with
absolutely.
a little bit of a
Happy to.
breakdown that's driving that. And I know there's a calculation in the front or in the back, I don't remember which. I'm looking for a little bit more than that. What are the
Absolutely.
pieces driving that rate increase for 2026?
Be happy to.
Thank you very much.
Okay, she's going to get that to us.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. Any other questions? Dave?
Now, just wrap it up by saying, you know, I always think about, you know, WEP, you know, and folks just don't realize what you guys do all day. You know, literally millions and millions and millions of gallons of water treated successfully. And unfortunately, we only hear about it when there's a problem. But, you know, it's just absolutely tremendous. And, you know, it's in the same vein, you know, Aqua, on the flip side of things, providing millions and millions and millions of gallons of clean, healthy water every single day. And, you know, throw Okra in there too, getting rid of everything. And so, no, just want to commend you for what you're doing. And we got a few big years ahead of us, obviously. So hang in there. Julie actually recommended maybe we get the lacrosse sticks out as opposed to basketball. I might have a better shot.
Level the playing field.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll work. That'll work.
Nadisha, any questions? No? Oh, okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are a little bit ahead of schedule, so everybody good to keep going? We're going to take a break? Okay. Yep. We'll have Children and Family Services up at 10:30. Family Services? Yep. Go ahead.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman Burtis, Legislator Gunup, and members of the Legislature. I'm glad to be here this morning to present the Department of Children and Family Services budget, along with my management team sitting in the back over there. So DCFS, which encompasses child welfare, juvenile justice, mental health, school-based initiatives, as well as youth development services, continues to work collaboratively with other county departments and community-based organizations to provide programs and services that support the success of children, youth, adults, and families in the home, school, and community. As a department, DCFS is projected to be within budget for 2025, with the exception of a couple specific lines, salaries and foster care costs. Although we are projected to have a surplus in our 101 salary line, our overtime continues to be over budget due to mandated ratios for Hillbrook, staff to resident ratios, as well as our child welfare after hours and night service support. As the CFO mentioned in her presentation earlier this weekend, the number of children in foster care has somewhat leveled out, but the costs continue to increase because it's based on the state rates that continually increase and are set by the state. Our 2026 budget includes standard salary and wage increases consistent with the baseline budgeting approach over the past several years. Also included in that base are the increased costs for supplies, contractual services, and professional services that are increased due to inflation and other contract escalators. In addition to the baseline budget, increases in several of our budget lines that you will see are the result of moving the family court attorneys and support staff from the law department into the child welfare division of DCFS. These budgetary increases are offset by decreases in the law department. The family court attorneys have physically been located within DCFS in 2025. And that restructuring allows for deeper collaboration and communication among our child welfare staff and the attorneys who represent DCFS in family court matters, and is also consistent with the organizational structure of many other counties across the state. The $2.3 million in increased expenses in our contractual services budget line are mostly reimbursable by state funding for mental health and substance use services, and they add no additional local costs. So you will also see the increase in the revenue lines for those. Our increase in professional services is a result of the need for contracted legal representation while we continue to recruit county employed attorneys to represent DCFS in family court. Ongoing vacancies result in the need for contracted attorneys to ensure that our child welfare cases move through the court process appropriately. Our mandated program costs for foster care increased in the 2026 budget due to, as I mentioned, rate increases, and our state juvenile justice programming costs have been trending down over the past several years, so those expenses and revenues are also down. Our 2026 budget continues to provide close to $1.5 million in local direct support to the Early Childhood Alliance, as well as an additional $2 million in 2026 to school-based mental health services that support children in every school district across the county. We look forward to continuing to work with the community and other county departments in collaboration in order to serve the youth, adults, and families in our community. And open to questions.
Okay. I'm going to start out with, so this is something new, you're bringing the family court from the law department. How many right now do we have? How many attorneys will be coming under?
There will be 7 funded attorneys and I believe 12 support staff.
Okay. And you mentioned that you're still using professional services how many do you feel your end result is that you're going to ultimately need?
We ultimately will need 7 attorneys. Right now we have 3 county attorneys and 3 contracted attorneys. And as we can bring on more county attorneys, we can phase out the contract attorneys.
Okay.
So if we're using the contract line, there will be savings in the vacancy line.
Okay. My other question is on your overtime. You mentioned that you are going to go over budget. On your overtime, obviously, it looks like you have decreased that. Will you be able to live within your 2026 lines or all three?
We hope so.
Okay.
Usually, mostly for Hillbrook, if we can keep the 101s staffed, and because Hillbrook is 3 shifts, different from child welfare, the after hours is always overtime for child welfare, but with Hillbrook, for the 3 shifts, we run into overtime situations when we have to mandate staff when people call in, or if we're understaffed. If we can, get to a point where the 101s are fully staffed and rely less on overtime, then you'll see the 101 line go up closer to where it should be and the overtime line down.
How many vacant fundeds do you have right now?
For DHAs, I believe it's 12 to 15.
Okay,
Detention home aides, that is.
okay. How many were you able to fill so far in 2025?
At Hillbrook, it's a lot of bringing a bunch on, and we lose some. It's kind of like
Okay,
working
so
through
it's a
the
rotation.
revolving.
So you're still having a difficult time bringing people on, finding people that
Mostly keeping people. It seems like
And
a lot.
you're
We have a
using
lot
the
of
help
applicants, but yeah.
help titles a lot,
Our DHA is untested, so we don't,
so that doesn't
Yep.
matter, okay,
yep.
okay. You got any questions? Dan? Let me have Dan go.
Thank you. And I actually have a bunch of questions, but I'm hoping that we can get you into committee meetings next year to talk about other things. But question about the home and school collaboration program. Are we putting any local dollars towards that right now?
No.
Okay, and when that's up, will there be some sort of report or evaluation available to see if we should continue that with local dollars?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and do you know when that's up? Is that a 3-year program or is that a 1 year?
We're looking at 1 year right now.
Okay,
Yep. Through the end of 2026.
okay, thank you. And then it shows a list of towns and villages in our book here. It shows a list of towns and villages that you guys can contract with. There are some that are not on that. Do you know what? Can you explain why?
That list is historical, based on youth development funding through OCFS at the state. And I can't remember the year, it might have been 2019, when the state stopped funding the municipalities directly for youth development programming and started funneling the funds through us. And those were the municipalities that accepted the funding at that point and has continued since then. So every year, we reach out to those municipalities to see if they want the funding. A lot of them are small dollar amounts, so sometimes they don't accept it, they don't take it, but that's why that's the list.
Okay, so that's just a year to year. You approach them, they say yes or no, and then
Yep.
the list comes up. You can move on, and then I might
Okay,
ask you.
Brian?
I might have missed it, and if I did, I apologize. You talked about vacant fundeds for Hillbrook. What about the big picture?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? Or what's the overall picture as far as staffing is
Staffing?
concerned? And what do you think you're going to be able to do about it in '26?
Yep, so our biggest divisions, juvenile justice and child welfare. As I mentioned, Hillbrook already, child welfare, we're at about 6 vacancies right now. So we're doing pretty well at bringing on caseworkers. The problem in child welfare is it's about a 2-year learning curve to be fully trained and fully confident and successful in the work. So although we only have 6 vacancies, I'd say about 70% of our staff have been with us fewer than 4 years.
Gotcha. Okay, shifting gears. I think the attorney shift is great, as far as reimbursement's concerned. I think the line we heard at one point was, "Can't believe we didn't do it sooner." But that's awesome, that we're doing it. Can you talk a little bit about the physical location of these attorneys, the management structure, what new encumbrances are on your department with this change, or, I mean, is there going to be someone in your department that's managing these attorneys and helping them navigate the justice system?
Well, the juvenile justice cases are still remaining with the county attorney's office. They have to.
Okay.
So the JDs and those are remaining with the county attorney's office. So one attorney stayed to do that. The remainder that do just child welfare related cases physically came into child welfare on the 7th floor from the, where are they, 10th floor? And so Kelly Veramo-Janis, our deputy commissioner, oversees child welfare and works with, there's a division administrator that's fairly new. It was a position on the books, but newly filled because it was a retirement in the law department, who was working on the administration. And then we do have a chief deputy position that is currently vacant. It was also a retirement that will run that unit, and you'll hear from Sarah Merrick and DSS too that there's going to be a chief human services attorney. So for all of the legal aspects, an attorney will be overseeing all of that. For the, the day-to-day administration and coverage, we'll work with the child welfare division as well.
So an attorney within the human services overarching structure that's going to manage
Yes.
all of this?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Nodisha?
I hate to go back to Hillbrook and the employment retention. Does it deal with the salary, or is it a civil service test, or what?
There is no civil service test for the DHAs. And, it is a lower salary. The qualifications are lower. We have talked about raising the qualifications to see if we can get more qualified candidates and have less movement in and out. So we are exploring that right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Chairman?
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
I understand the budget as far as contractual expenses, not government, being reimbursed, the mental health, and then also the other thing that's on the page is foster care. Could you just give us a little more detail or color about what's happening in those two areas, mental health and then also foster care, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So mental health and substance use services are fully reimbursed by the state, and every year they have escalators and they have COLAs, which we don't see in the other areas of reimbursement within our department. So all of we have, millions in mental health contracts. All of the annual COLAs we will get throughout the year, letters for reimbursement to increase all of those contracts, supported by revenue. Foster care, on the other hand, is not fully, it's partially reimbursable with different funding sources, but OCFS sets the daily rates, and those are the costs that actually, the dollars that support children in foster care. So they're the dollars that go to the foster families to support them. They go to the residential programs to directly support the children and youth that are in those programs are in foster care. And those rates increase at least once a year, sometimes twice a year by OCFS. And they've substantially increased over the last, 5 years. There was a class action lawsuit a few years ago that required the state to increase rates to support foster children.
Specifically, the staffing in both these areas is solid and adequate?
The numbers are adequate. As I mentioned earlier, the issue we run into is just the extensive training that it takes and the resources it takes to train new caseworkers that might take experienced staff out of the field for some time, and so that, hopefully we can get a handle on that.
Thank you.
I want to just hop back to the overtime, and Christy, this is a question for you. In 2024, it was 3.8, and we've dropped that down to, for 2026, 1.3. What is your plan to try to make that meet for 2026?
So the goal's always between the three lines for them to balance.
Yeah.
And as Amy was talking to, one of the issues on top of, being able to bring folks on, which they have now been successfully be able to do, is we're hoping to see as those training periods go away, then you have more normal one-on-one folks that can be out in the field instead of having to utilize the 102 or the overtime.
Yeah.
So as they've had success in bringing people on, we should hopefully see overtime come back down,
Okay.
and that 101 line increase. But right now, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because not only are you paying the 101 costs because we've had success in bringing people on, you're still paying some of those overtime costs because of the fact that they aren't able to independently work in the fields. So we're starting to see that in a couple different departments, where that's hopefully we're starting to trend. And we actually are seeing some trending decreases in their 102 throughout this year.
Caseloads for children and family services, are they normal? Where do we stand with caseloads?
The number of reports annually coming in is pretty stable. I'd say it's slightly fewer. However, the number of children in foster care requires that our services cases are pretty high at this time. We're working really hard to get those down so that, the kids and family can have the resources that they need for permanency. It speeds everything up, but it is a challenge.
Okay. Julie?
Okay, so mine's just a comment. Obviously, these are tough jobs. Like, that's just the truth. Okay, so some of that you can't solve for. But I would really just encourage all of you guys to look at, look at whatever model you need and just come to us. I really feel that this is, you've got to get yourself supported and where you need to be. And whether it's somebody, so you don't have to pull somebody from the field to train. Maybe there's a model somewhere that can solve for that. So I don't feel settled after this, and that's not your problem. I'm just saying to you,
Yep.
We hear you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions? Dan? You're back?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on a question that the chairman had. You had said that the numbers are sufficient, it's just keeping the people or getting them trained. Were you referring to, what were you referring to there?
The caseworkers.
Okay, the caseworkers. But then, when you were saying that they're backed up, do you think that when those people are trained, you're going to be able to catch up and keep pace with that, with those numbers that you have? Does that make sense?
Yes, if we can have, a 90 to 95%, fully trained staff in the field, ready to go, yes. But when you have the lag of training, that's when we're kind of,
Okay. I didn't realize that we would be able to make that much of a catch-up with what we have now and then be able to keep pace as well, but hopefully soon, hopefully nobody leaves. My other question is with the mental health piece. Excuse my not knowing, but I assume we have mental health covered in your department and in the health department? Or is all mental health in the county covered under DCFS?
mental health is within DCFS. We do work with the health department. Some of the substance use services are in the health department, so we collaborate regularly for the cross-systems work with the health department.
Okay, and then my other question is, when I look at local dollars spent, it's around 1.3, 1.4, something around there. How do we keep pace with the increased need, especially as post-COVID and mental health increases over the years? How do we make up for that need in the community? The 1.3 number, I only bring it up because I look at it and I think of,
Where's the 1.3?
Section 4, page 60. I'm looking at the local dollars spent.
Oh, gotcha. Right, so the 1.3, so the 35 million is the gross appropriation, mostly state and federal funding. So in terms of mental health services and programming, we do get most reimbursement from the state and federal government, and the state has, over the years and continues to put out RFPs and for different programs and different services that, might work well in one area to expand across the state. So there's constantly growing, the state is growing mental health services, which we benefit from at the county level.
Okay, so the increases from the state are sufficient, that's why we don't need any more? That's why we don't need as significant of an increase in local dollars as we've seen of an increase
Right.
in the mental health need in the community?
Yes.
Okay.
The dollars come from state and federal, yes.
Okay.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is that doesn't include the local dollars that are usually in their transfer to grant line. So the county executive has had the commitment for the school-based mental health. That's all local dollars, but you aren't going to see that in that program line.
Okay, thank you.
So there's additional local dollars.
Okay. Is your mic on?
Breaking them this week? I don't know if I got an electromagnetic field or something, but I'm really good at breaking things this week.
Get a little closer.
Better? Okay.
Dan?
If I could, those funded unfilled positions, did that number that you gave of 6 also include the school-based, since that's in a different, that's in the grants?
Yes. Can you say that again?
No.
Say it one more time, just so I
Okay,
make sure I
so you had mentioned that there's 6 funded vacant positions, and I didn't know if that also included what Christy was just talking about with the school-based, because it's in a different, because it's in grants, right? Is that 6 for both?
It's 6 total.
6 total?
Yes.
Okay.
Dave?
Just quickly on the school-based, are there any districts not participating in that now in the county?
I believe
No, they are now. They started, they didn't at the
all of them
beginning.
were. Is Jen back there? Are there any that don't have anything now?
All the districts have taken advantage of one or all of the services within the model, and we continue to have conversations where districts who may not have all the services in the model continue to have conversations with us about how to increase those services.
Thank you.
Yes.
Last question, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead, Dan.
So we hear a lot about mandates from the state. Are there any programs that you have that are mandated by the state that you would eliminate if they weren't mandated by the state?
No.
Okay.
No, Deja?
I'm glad you said no, but I know we sat down and we spoke, not with you, but last year we spoke about the retention rate for the caseworkers. Are you still having a lot of issues with that, and is it dealing with the competitive salary as well?
I'd say compared to last year, it's stabilized in terms of the retention rate, not losing as many, but like I said, still have that couple-year training lag.
So what did you say, how much percentage of your staff is 4 years?
Probably at least 70%.
Wow, that's, you could be mostly due to retirement and then a little bit of
Yes.
retention.
Mhm.
Right, you had an aging department.
Yep.
Okay. Charles?
Just checking this microphone. Well, thank you for coming. Just had a question. This is looking at the aid. We've got state, federal, local, to help stabilize families and reduce the money that a lot of families rely on the county for. Are we taking advantage of the child tax credit? Are we reaching out to the families that are eligible? I don't know if my math is right, but we've got, what, 60,000 eligible children here in the county. If we did at least 10,000, that might be around 9 million in savings, which would offset or help. So,
Yes, that's not a role that
Yeah.
we take on.
Peace Incorporated, one of our, local CBOs, they largely take the lead in helping people access the child tax credit. And so they will work with us throughout the year, but largely Peace Incorporated, if you have anyone who needs assistance obtaining it, Peace Incorporated is the way to go.
So we're outsourcing it. Are we following up with them? Because as I said, there's a lot of eligible families, households, but we all know a lot of them aren't making it out or applying. Sometimes they feel maybe their income, it's not enough, but even if your income level isn't high enough to actually get an income tax refund, you can still apply. And as I said, that would save us a lot of money. I don't know about my math, but I think it's right.
And I think when Sarah Merrick comes up, she will probably tell you that they instruct their clients to absolutely apply and get that credit, but it wouldn't fall under Children and Family Services.
Yeah, next department.
I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you.
Let's ask Sarah that question. Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Next is Children or Social Services and Economic Security. Hello. How you doing? You all set? Go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman May, Chairwoman Gunup, legislators. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the 2026 budget.
May I interject? You really meant Chairman Burtis.
Chairman Burtis, I'm sorry. No, it isn't, but I apologize. Oh, well, I didn't start off very well, but hey, hopefully it will get better as we go on, okay? Okay. Anyway, before I dive into this, often I forget to thank my 450-plus staff who really make everything that we do that I'm going to be discussing possible. And I have probably half of my management staff back there in the corner, and without their leadership and their dedication, we would not be able to deliver on what is expected of us. So I want to thank them. I just want to give you a quick overview. I know we've talked a lot about mandates. Our programs in the Department of Social Services, Economic Security are all federally mandated programs. You have public assistance, you have SNAP, you have HEAP, you have child care assistance, you have child support, and you have Medicaid. Those are all federally mandated programs. A portion of those programs are federally funded, a portion of them have state funding. They're all heavily regulated by federal and state oversight departments. So there is nothing in the Department of Social Services Economic Security budget that is not a mandated service. If you look at, and again, I don't have any written statement. You have your written statement. I'm not going to read that, but I'm just going to kind of give you an overview. And I know you're interested in the state of affairs of this budget year. As stated, we're currently within budget. However, there's going to be two areas that we're going to be looking at very closely, and that is our public assistance lines. We continue to have record level homelessness, and we are obligated to house anyone who comes to us who is homeless. We're obligated to either put them in shelter and or use hotels when our shelters are at capacity. In addition, as you're aware, our rent has increased over and over, and the primary reason people receive public assistance is to pay their rent. So these two lines between family assistance and safety net, you're seeing escalating costs because it's costing a lot more money to shelter our homeless singles and families. and then trying to get them out into higher level apartments, higher rents, okay? We continue to monitor that, but that is mandated. We must serve them. As you can see, as we get into next year's budget, we have budgeted increases in those lines for this very reason. The second area is child care assistance. We were at an all-time low during COVID. We had 1,500 cases. In June, we were at a record level of 3,100 child care assistance cases. And at that point, our expenditures were beginning to exceed our state allocation. So we ended up having to create a waiting list. We continue to monitor that waiting list, and as our caseloads decrease, we're trying to calibrate when and if we can reopen for new applications. But again, we are concerned in this budget year that that might exceed our budget allocation. I'll go back up to our 101, our 102, and 103 line. We have, since COVID, averaged anywhere from 40 to 50 vacancies. Why? I don't know. I really don't think people working in government, being a public servant, I don't think that that is something that is drawing people into government like it used to. We have tried many, many things, but to continue to meet the requirements of our mandates, we do run our overtime and run our 103 at very high levels. But we believe we will be well within budget with the savings in our 101 line. So switching gears to talk about next year's budget, you can see that we're kind of flat on the salaries, wages, and our 101, 102, 103. Keep in mind that's a net decrease of 11 funded positions. We've bringing in the welfare attorneys, that's 3, and in a minute I'll talk about us bringing in-house our financial empowerment efforts, which gets at really encouraging and working with our temporary assistance clients on accessing every kind of resource coming to them, particularly all types of tax refunds. On the other lines, the contractual line is decreasing because, again, we're bringing in that financial empowerment work to work with our 5,000 temporary assistant clients. As I've already explained why the safety net and the family assistance lines are increasing. I don't know if you're aware, but again, another mandated service. Individuals on Social Security disability insurance, obviously they get a monthly benefit. Often, though, they have difficulty navigating their finances. And one of the programs that we run is the Emergency Assistance to Adults program. And that allows us to prevent SSI clients from being evicted. We are able to pay for back rent and help them stabilize their housing situation. That is what that line is. Obviously, medical payments is Medicaid. As we move down, the daycare program has gone up significantly. It really hasn't. It's really, the budget is finally getting caught up with all of the federal daycare funding cycles finally in the 2026 budget. For years, I've been involved with child care for over 25 years. For years, this county has always been able to meet the demand primarily because of rollover funds. And all these changes started happening after COVID. with the state changing eligibility, changing the parent share, changing how much we have to pay child care providers' absences. All that changed, and what has happened is all those rollover funds have now disappeared, and we really have only our flat allocation from the state. So finally, we're at around that $47 million mark. I do want to highlight the county executive putting $750,000 extra dollars over and above our maintenance of effort or maintenance of effort. We have to put about $1 million some odd monies in it. That's again part of the mandate. But this $750,000 will allow us to keep current cases that exceed 300% of the federal poverty limit. Right now, the waiver allows us to use the state money, federal and state money, to keep open cases up to that limit. However, the state expanded eligibility up to 350% of the federal poverty limit. That window there are a number of people without the local money would lose their child care assistance. So this is very important that this county is taking a leadership role on at least preserving people's current child care assistance. And again, people get child care assistance because they go to work. So this is really an important economic engine service in this budget. I would only add that, as you can see on professional services, there's a very large jump. This is where we're most excited. The county will be investing in a large investment in AI. We are working with a company called TIPCO. Their AI engine is called EVA. We have been piloting using EVA at the beginning of this year in SNAP. And I know your written statement has already what we've accomplished just in the SNAP area. But I just want to brag and say, and it's somewhere in my papers, hot off the press, 4 months of using EVA to answer our main SNAP phone number, 435-2700, because if you would want to test it out, please call. Already, EVA has answered over 110,000 calls in 4 months, less than 4 months, actually. This system, too, has answered 32,000 of them without having to transfer to a DSS employee. We are in the process of developing so EVA will be used throughout all of our program areas, and it will, by default, when someone is calling the Department of Social Services, they'll go to EVA first, hopefully get an answer, but if not, then able then to be quickly transferred to the appropriate staff person. This is saving an incredible amount of time. Just this 4 months is almost 1,900 hours of staff time. So we're putting a lot of effort into figuring out how to use AI in every aspect of our department. We need to do it. We need to save staff time for the high-level eligibility and redetermination efforts. We really, really need this to work. So, and we appreciate the tremendous investment that you're making in this, but we really think it can work. And we think it's better customer service, and also, finally, staff are seeing something that's giving them work relief. Okay, I am almost done. I just want to, again, highlight, you've already have it in your written materials, but in in our work efforts is obviously continuing to implement our child poverty reduction efforts. Again, that allowed us to expand to Onondaga County. So now we're going to be serving 194 families simultaneously, but the results have been good. 30 of our original 60 some odd clients have been employed full time. And again, we are working with them. And part of why we wanted to expand our financial empowerment efforts, we are seeing that when we worked with our two-gen families and talked about debt management, budget planning, saving money for goals like buying a car or education, it's working. It's moving them out of poverty. And so we really want to be able to provide that service for all of our temporary assistance clients eventually. And then finally, we're working with Housing and Homeless Coalition on CNY Chance. They're working with landlords, bringing them back into contact with us and opening the doors so that they're willing to rent to temporary assistance clients. In 1 month, we were able to rehouse 21 of our homeless families in hotels. We're at a record low now with only 57 families now in hotels. So we are on the right path with this. Amy's area, she didn't emphasize it, but again, they're working with the school district on an attendance project on helping get kids in school. And then finally, our diaper distribution project. We're working with over 460 families. And since this spring when we started this, just keep in mind, we've already distributed almost 500,000 diapers to these families, so that's a lot of diapers. So we're on track for at least 1 million a year free diapers. So with that, I'll close and turn it over to questions.
Great success. I know we took the employment part on a couple of years ago. Any changes in that? How is everything working through with you? I know now with you managing that side of it, anything?
It's actually going very, very well. We got a shout out from OTDA a few weeks ago saying that they want to bring in their trainers to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it, because they're very impressed with how we are working all cases, both people that can work and the cases that people are deemed exempt or not able to work. I mean, last year we had a record 450 plus individuals moved from temporary assistance to SSID benefits. So that was a huge shout out. I think it's going really well.
Yeah, really good. On the daycare, any change with the, I know we were looking at the absentee issue where the state might adjust that.
I really, again, the 3 prongs to the changes in childcare have been raising eligibility, also decreasing the parent share to a maximum of 1%. But the big hit is having to pay 90 days of absences per child, per provider. And if anything, I think the state legislature should look at changing that. It's reasonable to pay for some absences, but when you're talking about children being out of childcare 90 days, I see there's no benefit. The child is not getting any early childhood enrichment with absences at that level. The state legislature really needs to look at changing that.
Is that something that your county or the statewide, all the other commissioners?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time.
Do they reach out for change in legislation to the state?
We work on our side. It would be great to work on your side.
Yeah,
we often, we work and talk to the administrative side and say, this doesn't make any sense. We continue to keep data that shows us that this is where the cost escalator, the main cost escalator happened.
Right. How many do we have on the waiting list now?
99.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Brian? Next.
Thanks, Sarah.
Sure.
First, congratulations. You know, it was great to read the article about poverty rates, even though nobody's satisfied, of course. It was nice. I kept looking, reading through to see Onondaga County, DSS as part of the reason, but we know you're part of the reason, so thanks for what you do. We know it made a big difference.
Thank you.
And I know there's a lot more work to do, so don't take this as complacency or satisfaction, just,
Oh, I know.
you
Don't
know,
worry.
but you know what I mean. We have more work to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep going up that list.
Yeah.
and I'm serious about that. I wanted to ask you about, oh my goodness, I lost my question. I'm going to yield for a second because I have so much paper here I lost track.
I'm going to go to Nodesia.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you for all that you do. Of course, you know we have a lot of conversations. I wanted to ask you one question about the numbers. How much do you need to open up that application for new incoming daycare attendants?
You know, we have, again, I advocate and talk to my counterpart at OCFS, and when we run the numbers minimally with the growth factor that we were on, we would need $50 million a year. And right now, I'm not sure that funding will be coming from the state, but you know, we really did a concerted effort to get the word out. It worked, but our growth factor, we would really need 50 million at least.
And one last question about Eva. That's
Yes.
great that she's saving the staff time. I know there's a lot of concerns about the constituents being on hold a long time. How is that working? Does Eva stop that hold time for them?
It should. Again, it's not she, I'm sorry, it's AI. It's the fact that it's on average answering 30% of the calls, I think that's helping. It's a work in progress. So you're probably going to hear that, you know, glitches. We know. But I believe by the end of the year, we will have figured out how to have, again, when someone calls DSS, Eva answering the question first. If Eva is able to take 30%, wow, you're not holding at all. Then I think what's going to happen is we're going to have more time for those more difficult situations. Our staff is going to have more time to address that, and I think we will be able to decrease our wait times because of the decrease in volume. We do measure everything, again, we'll share our measurements, but we're monitoring for this because we really want to get the wait times down to a few minutes at best.
And with the current federal cuts, speaking of Section 8, even though you know it's not in our peripheral, knowing that if you are on Section 8 for 2 years, right, and you have about 6 months to get off, do you anticipate a lot of problems with the homeless population going up and you having to house more people in hotels? I know you said 57. That is a lot to me still, 57.
Oh, it is, but...
It is a lot. You know, with poverty, anybody impoverished, just too many people impoverished.
You know, there are going to be a lot of changes with a lot of federal programs next year. We already know a lot of more administrative steps we are going to have to take. So, again, that's why we need Eva to work, because we're going to need that time to do, you know, 5 extra steps in SNAP, for instance, monitor for work requirements, or in Medicaid, we'll monitor for work requirements, which we haven't had. But to be perfectly honest, we are the last stop for people. And so if they're homeless, they were going to come into our system. And if they're homeless, they have no money. And they will be eligible for at least temporary housing. And so the state has shared with me that they believe there's at least another 5,000 households out there in the community that are eligible for temporary assistance. I know why We don't have them on our caseloads because there's a work requirement. But when you need housing, we're going to have to monitor this very closely because we're the last stop, and we have to house families and singles who are homeless.
Thank you again.
Eva's not just answering their questions, she's also set up so that they can give them information that maybe a worker would have been having to do over the phone, correct?
Yeah, well, this thing's evolving.
Okay.
Every step of this process, we've had to work with the state. And we have to prove to them that we're not compromising clients' confidentiality, or whatever we're doing is not compromising the state network that we are on, okay? So far, so good, but it's a slow process, okay? But I just want to be very brief. EVA has 3 components. One is phones, where it answers incoming phone calls. Right now, it is giving them information that they probably could find by looking at our DSS website, all right? Yeah. What we are striving for is to get approval from the state that actually can give a client an update, the status of their application, the amount of their benefit, when their renewal date is, all of that. That would be a sea change. I see that decreasing our phone calls another 30%. But again, we haven't gotten the approval from the state, but it has the capability of doing that. The second component is called interview, and this is so exciting. Most of our programs, all of our programs require some kind of application or recertification application. We are piloting right now in temporary assistance, EVA calling a person who's applied for temporary assistance and literally talking through the questions and gathering that information and then packaging it and sending it to our eligibility worker for processing. We are piloting that right now this month. We see that as a huge win. If we're able to do that effectively with temporary assistance, probably our most complex application, we want to do that throughout our department. And then finally, there's something called Companion, and it's more an internal system, but it allows us to load up every regulation, every ADM, all our policies and procedures, any training manual, and it will be our internal Google, honestly, to be perfectly honest. And what we are going to be doing is training our staff. If you have a question, ask EVA first, and then EVA on your screen will tell you this is how you do it and cite the regulation of why you're doing it, okay? We see this as huge because, one, it's going to allow us for consistent application across our department, and also I think it will allow our supervisors to get some time back, because I think we often have our staff running to the supervisor first instead of how do we start developing people's critical thinking skills and getting the answers to their questions on their own, and that's what we're going to develop with this tool.
Good, sounds great. Brian, you back on?
Sort of answered.
Okay.
But maybe just to expand a bit, it had to do with AI, and
Okay.
Certainly in the private sector, we're focused on it. I hate to say it, but we're playing with it. And 4 months is nothing.
I know.
In the ramp up, I realize that, and I realize that while you can start to measure performance, it's something that really requires more time to do so. I think it's great that you're doing it. I applaud it in every way. I guess more anecdotally at this point, because that's all we can really talk about, is what kind of feedback are you getting from the clients? And by the way, my belief is no feedback is great feedback when you're adopting such a drastic change in your delivery model. And a 30% resolution rate, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to maintain that standard going forward
is wonderful. If you can tweak it up, great, but that's got to be significant.
Oh, it is.
But what are you hearing?
Actually, I'm going to go with your theory. Since we're not hearing anything, it's good news. However, I think we've had one call recently of someone with a disability that Eva could not understand. So finally, Eva got the person actually to a human being and was able to address this person's concerns. But unfortunately, that person was very frustrated because of the loop system, okay? I'm telling you right now, it's not perfect, and we've got to learn, and we got to fix it. What we are working on is having TIPCO put in a process in which if a caller wants to give us feedback, they can do that. And we're looking at other ways in which we can ensure to get the client feedback to make sure we're aware of any of the glitches and what we need to fix.
Or we go with no news is good news.
Right. Well, okay, but
That's it, really,
yeah.
You hear that you can bank on, take it from the people over here. You can bank on the negatives, hearing about the negatives. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
Nadisha?
First, I want to say, just for the feedback point, I know the constituents are happy because a lot of people who don't want to come in and don't have time to come in for the interviews, a lot more of them apply for food stamps and for HEAP because they know it's accessible right over that phone. So that has been good feedback dealing with that. I just had a question about language barriers. Does EVA translate different languages?
It does.
Or how is that working with the New American?
Yeah, it does. It's Spanish, French, Arabic, and we will bring online all the other languages that we deal with, Somalian. We're on that, okay? But it can do that, and that's also really helpful to anyone who needs our assistance. It will automatically, if the caller is speaking Spanish, it will automatically switch to Spanish. And I just want to emphasize, if we're able to perfect the interview piece, this system will be able to call individuals evening, weekends, and a lot of the people who apply for our benefits are working, so our hours of 8 to 4 have not been very compatible with their needs. So we think this is also going to be huge to be able to reach people at a time where they actually can give us the information we need to move forward.
Charles?
Sir, this goes back to my earlier question. Are we taking advantage of the child tax credit? Because that's one of the things I know that you said that you monitor, and with the reduction, state funding and other things, we know if the families are using it responsibly, it'll help with, like rent, foster care, shortening, like, stays in hotels and things like that.
We actually advertise basically when the tax season opens, and we mail flyers to our clients to say these are the places that you can go to get a free tax assistance. Now we're adding another element with our financial empowerment employees. They literally will work with our temporary assistance clients and look at the revenue that's coming in. If they are not submitting their tax information and pulling down all of these various refunds, we will work with them to have them do that. It's a help for us too, because in the months that they get the tax refunds, sometimes, at least in the past, we have seen our caseload go down a little bit. It gives us a little bit of reprieve. We continue to try to push that.
What are the numbers, the percentage? Because realistically, we know that not everyone is applying, but in terms of the numbers of, the families, how many of them are actually applying, are you?
I would say it's a very high percentage. I can look into it, see if we can track it. I mean, we do collect everyone's income information, so I'd like to go back to see if we can actually get you a percentage, but it's got to be extremely high, at least for people on temporary assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your work and everything that your team does. I have a handful of questions here. With the daycare program, are we required to pay for 5-year-olds?
I'm sorry, what?
For the daycare service, the daycare?
Yep.
Are 5-year-olds eligible for that?
Oh, yeah. It's 0 to 13-year-olds.
Oh, okay.
That covers the age range of children that households can get child care assistance for.
Okay. Good to know.
I know the CIP includes renovation for the 3rd and the 5th floor. Is that the final 2 floors that you have within your whole department?
Yeah. Well, we might need to circle around
Yeah,
again.
again,
But,
right.
yeah, they have not been renovated in decades. That will be wonderful.
Okay, good. Those are not, no public goes to either of those floors?
Currently,
That's just
no,
staff
they're all
only,
staff floors.
And it'll stay that way?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
We really are trying to keep our client activity to the 2nd floor. We have a few people going to child support, a few people going over to temporary assistance to employment in KOB, but, again, hundreds and hundreds of days, hundreds of people a day come onto our 2nd floor, and that's our preference.
Okay, good. And the new security system that I'm sure that the employees are feeling a little bit better about that.
Very
now.
good.
Security, Dan, or Dave? Get Dave and Dan.
Thank you. And before I ask my question, thank you for your responsiveness. And whenever I have questions, you're always great, and I really appreciate it. Years ago, we invested a substantial amount of dollars in kiosks. Are we still using those? Is EVA going to replace, supplement? What's the status of those?
Yeah, unfortunately, we were cutting edge, honestly, with these kiosks.
Well,
we were, but unfortunately, that's where the state said, uh-oh, these are a security risk, and they shut us down. So unfortunately, we don't do that. They developed something called New York State Mobile Document Upload. It's an app. However, it's not very user-friendly. It's not as user-friendly as our kiosk machines. So what we are trying to do over time is figure out how to use EVA to help us with our client traffic flow on the 2nd floor, and to figure out how to still more effectively deal with all of the paper documentation we're mandated to do. So that's why we're working with the state up front. We do not want to develop something and then have them shut down. So again, I want to do it yesterday, but I understand that we got to work with the state to make sure that they sign off and don't shut us down like they did with the kiosk machines.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Oh, Dave?
Yep, I have a couple more. I'm glad to hear that you're working with the landlords and building that relationship. Are you also working with people like economic development to help prevent or build a built environment that will prevent the challenges that we see people have? So I assume,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, as long as you understand, it's fine.
Yeah,
You understand the
no,
question?
that's the beauty of this chance program. Part of it is building new relationships with landlords. And they have something like 900 now apartments into this database, which is significant. But the other side of it is once this program places a family or individuals in an apartment, there are what we call tenant support staff, and they're working with the tenants to make sure that, hey, let's not disrupt this relationship, and I can help you be an advocate to talk to the landlord. So again, we're trying to test some ideas out, but so far so good, it's working.
So something that I was thinking about was the challenges that people may face associated with costs, because as we know, the increase of rental, but also like not having access to some housing because transportation isn't available at that housing, you know, and I'm not going to have a comprehensive list that you would have and the people that work at DSS, but I'm thinking of, you know, you making that relationship or at least providing the information to people who can address those things, right? So, hey, you know, we're seeing people having challenges finding housing because transportation isn't available where the housing is, right? Or, hey, we're seeing people end up in this situation because, you know, medical debt, I have no idea. But with those other things that you're seeing and communicating that to the different entities that can help address those problems that you're seeing drive the people coming to you.
We collect a lot of data. I mean, obviously, if we're asked certain questions, we could provide that data that could tell a story of, you know, where our concentration of where our, let's say, temporary assistance clients live. We've already mapped out our SNAP clients. They're everywhere. I mean, it literally covers the entire county. So yeah, I think discussions about how to use aggregate data that we can produce to help with making decisions about programming is a great idea.
Yeah, yes, that's what I was going for. Okay, great. And then my other one is the financial empowerment. Yes. I'm glad that you're doing that. I think that's extremely important for people to understand that. Are you partnering with other financial empowerment or spreading out capacity that might be limited with, like I know Syracuse has a financial empowerment center. I don't know what other like school districts or municipalities are doing, but I'm thinking there's going to be more need than what we're going to have up front, right? So
Yes.
Are you using partnerships to help increase that capacity and build efficiencies?
Yeah, we will. Right now, we really want to focus on developing financial empowerment program that focuses on the unique needs of someone on temporary assistance. We're really talking about very, very poor people who have incredible degree of debt. I mean, when we look at these cases, we're talking about 10 different debts. So we have tried to use the traditional and financial empowerment programs throughout the last few years, but it just isn't tweaked enough for our population. We want to get that worked out, but we also think that our SNAP population is a perfect population to use the other community resources. So we would happily partner with them on that.
Great. Thank you again for everything you do.
Sure.
Nodisha?
Sarah, I apologize, but you're a hot commodity. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
We're in a poverty-enriched county, and you're that person. I just had a quick question with the landlords, back to the landlords. I know a lot of time the landlord relationship dealt with the amount of time that they were getting their payments. And a lot of them spoke about, you know, receiving rent payments late. Is that still an issue, or do you hear anything about that?
You know, we have 30 days to pay, so we're pretty impressive on being timely with our payments. Yeah, every so often there are glitches, but you know, I commend Christy and her team. You know, checks are going to go out every Thursday, every week, every Thursday for landlords, for child care providers. I think we're very efficient, prompt payers.
But that relationship, too, allows the landlord to get in touch with you and let you know that day is coming soon.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, a lot of
Sure.
good information.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, this is the end of today, and we will be back on Monday at 9:30 with facilities management. Thank you.